All right, let me get back to that class. Yeah, tonight we are looking at currency risk management. Shortly, I'm going to share the material with the class. Of course, the topic is technical. However, it is learnable. It's a topic that is learnable. Where a company is incorporated in Nigeria and the company operates within Nigeria, where a company operates within, where a company is incorporated in Nigeria and the company operates within Nigeria, the issue of foreign currency will not arise. However, where a company incorporated in Nigeria decide to operate outside Nigerian business environments, then the issue of foreign currency will come to play. This is because company A, based in one country, transacting with company B, based in another country, there's need to exchange currency. Company A, located in Nigeria. Company B, located in Ghana. Company A is transacting business with company B. Therefore, there is need for currency exchange. Now, the question is, what is exchange rates? The question is, what is exchange rate? I'm trying to get the chief admin to allow me to share my material. Exchange rates can be defined as the quantity of one country currency that is required to purchase 1 unit of another country currency. Exchange rates can be defined as the quantity of one country currency that is required to purchase a unit of another country currency. For example, 100,000 naira, 1,000 naira to buy $1. The quantity of naira requires to buy 1 unit of dollar is the exchange rate between naira and dollar. We define exchange rate as the quantity of one country currency that is needed to buy 1 unit of another country currency. Now, this exchange rate can be quoted in 2 ways: direct quotes and indirect quotes. If you are talking of direct quotes, the quantity of domestic currency required to buy 1 unit of foreign currency, that is direct quotation. Direct quote, the number of naira required to buy foreign currency, that is direct quote. Indirect quote, the quantity of foreign currency required to buy 1 unit of domestic currency, that is indirect quote. For example, the quantity of dollars that can buy 1 naira, that become indirect quote. Now, if you are dealing with question where naira is not involved, if you are dealing with question where naira is not involved, all right, you can share now. Let's go on with the class. If you are dealing with question that naira is not involved, how do you identify direct quote? How do you identify domestic currency and foreign currency? Where the company is located, that company will take precedence. A company located in Nigeria, sorry, a company located in US, therefore, dollar becomes the domestic currency. A company located in US is transacting business with a company located in UK. Where the company is located, dollar becomes the domestic currency. Now, please note, relationship between direct and indirect quotes is inverse relationship. Look at it, please. Indirect quote is equal to 1 over direct quote. Or direct quote is equal to 1 over indirect quote. Please always note this. Now, rules for buying and selling foreign currency. Please, these rules, you are going to try to memorize them. Rule number 1, exchange rates are quoted from the viewpoint of the bank. it is usually quoted in favor of the bank. Rule number 2, when the customer buys foreign currency, then the bank will sell foreign currency. And when the customer sells foreign currency, then the bank will buy foreign currency. Now, what that rule number 2 means is that you must identify the buyer and the seller. When the customer is buying, bank is selling. When the customer is selling, bank is buying. There must be a buyer, there must be a seller. Now, rule number 3. Oh. Please, Wale, can you mute? In a direct quote, the bank buys at lower rates and sell at higher rates. If you are dealing with direct quotation, bank will buy at low rates and sell at high rates. In an indirect quote, the bank buys at higher rates and sell at lower rates. Our next discussion. The type of rates you can have. We have spot rates. Spot rates is the exchange rates for immediate foreign transaction. Spot rates is the exchange rates for foreign transaction that is happening immediately. For example, if you are making payments today in dollars, the exchange rate that applies today is known as the spot exchange rate. Forward rates is the exchange rate between two currencies that is agreed today for transaction that will happen at a future specified date. Forward rate is the exchange rate agreed today between two currencies for transaction that will happen at a future specified date. Your spot trades can be quoted. Spot trades are often quoted as a premium or as a discount. The spot rates are often quoted as a discount or as a premium to the spot rates. Cross rates. Cross rate is the implied exchange rate between two currencies. Cross rates is the implied exchange rate between two currencies based upon the explicit rate between the third currency. When we say cross rates, implied exchange rate between two currencies based on the explicit rates, based on the explicit relationship with the third currency. It is the exchange rate between two currencies derived from relationship with the third currency. We can demonstrate this when we get to the whiteboard. I will try to demonstrate this, what we call spot rates. Now, theories of exchange rate determination. The theories of exchange rate determination. 1. Interest rate parity theory. The interest rate parity theory states that the differences between two country currencies, the interest rate parity theory states that the differences between two country currencies occurs as a result of differences between the interest rates between the two countries. Let's try to break this down. If you are talking of interest rate parity theory, the theory states that while we have differences in exchange rates between two country currencies, is because there's differences in interest rate between the two countries. In other words, if interest rates in one country is higher, a country with higher interest rates, we have its currency depreciating faster. A country with higher interest rates, we have its currency depreciating faster compared to a country with lower interest rates. With this theory, if you are given the interest rate between two countries and you are given the spot rates between the two countries' currency, we can forecast future exchange rates. Let me take that again. With interest rate parity theory, this theory can be used to predict exchange rate between two countries at future period. If you know the interest rates in country A and the interest rates in country B, and you have the spot rate between the two currencies, then you can forecast forward exchange rates. If you are trying to forecast, you can use this equation. For direct quote, look at the equation. For direct quote, look at the equation. We are going to define the variables. For indirect quote, there's going to be slight change. X will move down, F will move up. Now, what are these variables? 1 plus foreign interest rates, FIR, foreign interest rates per time period. DIR, domestic interest rate per time period. Your capital letter F, forward rates. And your letter X, spot rates. Oh, this thing has moved so fast. With this equation, we can predict forward rates if you are given these variables. Number 2 theory, purchasing power, parity theory. This theory states that the exchange rate between two country currency depends on the relative inflation rate within the respective countries. Purchasing power parity theory states that the exchange rate between two currencies depends on the relative inflation rates within the respective country. What this means is that inflation rates is the reason for differential inflation rates, is the reason for differences in two country exchange rates. A country with higher inflation rates will have its currency depreciating faster compared to a country with lower inflation rates. We can use this theory to predict forward exchange rates for direct quotes. 1 plus Fi divided by 1 plus Di is equal to X over F, where Fi is the foreign inflation rate. Your Di is the domestic inflation rate. Your X is the spot rate, and your F is the forward rate. For indirect quotes, you are going to have a slight change in the equation. F will move up, S will move down. Now, what is the importance of these two theories? Beyond just trying to know the theory, we can use these two theories to estimate exchange rates. Examiner can text a question. Examiner will not give you the forward rates. Examiner will give you the spot rates. Examiner can give you inflation rates or interest rates. Examiner will now ask you, hedge this transaction with forward markets. Examiner will now ask you, a company is expecting inflows in 3 months, and the company is trying to hedge against fluctuation in exchange rates. Our company based in Nigeria, we are expecting inflows in dollar in 3 months' time. And we are worried about fluctuation in exchange rates. We now want to hedge using forward markets. We want to hedge today with forward markets. Examiner will now ask you, determine the result of the hedging. Definitely, to do this, you required 3-month forward rates. Examiner didn't give you the 3-month forward rates. Examiner now gave you inflation rates. Examiner gave you spot rates. You can use the inflation rates given to you and the spot rates to forecast 3 months forward rates. The rate you are going to forecast, your forecasted rate for 3 months becomes the exchange rate for hedging. I'm trying to explain the importance of this theory to us. May God give us a better understanding. Foreign currency risk. When we say foreign currency risk, this is the adverse movement in exchange rates. This is the fluctuation in exchange rates that can affect companies involved in international transactions. There are 3 types of currency risk. We also call it currency exposure. There are 3 types of currency risk or currency exposure. One is transaction risk. You also have translation risk. Then you have economic risk. Transaction risk is the risk that arises between 2 parties. Transaction risk is the foreign exchange risk that arises between 2 parties where the normal transaction currency of each party is different. And where the transaction involves future receipts or future payments. Transaction risk is the foreign currency risk that arises because the transaction currency of each party is different, and the transaction involves future payments and future receipts in foreign currency. Transaction risk occurs because there is a timing difference between when a foreign transaction is entered into. Transaction risk occurs because there is a timing difference between when a foreign transaction is entered into and when the settlement of the transaction is done. Let us illustrate that briefly. Our company based in Nigeria, our normal transaction currency is Naira. We are transacting business with a company based in China. The China currency is renminbi. The transaction of our company in Nigeria is Naira. The currency of the Chinese company based in China is renminbis. We now want to transact. We are transacting that involve future payments. We enter into transaction today. Today is 26th. But we are expected to make payments in 2 months' time, because there is a timing difference between when the transaction is entered into and when the payment is done. That will give rise to transaction risk. Number 2, translation risk. Translation risk arises in multinational companies with foreign subsidiaries. The income statement and statement of financial position will be denominated in the local currency of the subsidiary. The income statement and statement of financial position will be denominated in the local currency of the subsidiary. On consolidation, this will be translated into the currency of the parent company, the holding company. In the process of translating the financial statements from one currency to another currency, there could be exchange losses or exchange gain due to fluctuation in exchange rates. That is the translation risk. We can illustrate that briefly. Please, a bit of digression. The explanation we are doing tonight is because the exam you are writing, yes, you need to understand it. One, the exam you are going to write is a combination of theories and calculation. Please refer back to past questions. Examiner always asks these theories. Explain economic risk. Explain economic risk, transaction risk, translation risk. Please, let's go on. So, in the cost of, if you look at companies like, let's take MultiChoice. MultiChoice is a multinational company with the parent company in South Africa. The currency of South Africa is rand. We now have MultiChoice Nigeria. We have MultiChoice Ghana. We have MultiChoice other African country. MultiChoice Nigeria, the account is prepared in Naira. The income statements and the balance sheet statement of MultiChoice Nigeria is denominated in Naira. MultiChoice Ghana, the account is denominated in cedis. At the financial year end, the parent company based in South Africa will be required to prepare consolidated statement of financial position. That means the account of MultiChoice Nigeria denominated in Naira will need to be translated to rand. The asset and liability of MultiChoice Nigeria that is denominated in Naira will be converted to South African currency. The accounts of MultiChoice Ghana denominated in cedis will be translated to rand. In the process of translating this asset and liability to the current company, there could be translation risk or translation exposure. Then lastly, we talk about economic risk. Economic risk in the context of foreign exchange is the risk that a company might choose to locate its operation in a country where currency gains in value over time. Against the currency of its competitors in the world markets. Economic risk. I can decide to locate my company in a country where the currency value is higher. This is because if I fail to do that, if I locate my company in a country where currency value is weak, I will not be able to compete internationally. Economic risk can affect the international competitiveness of a company. It can reduce the present value of cash flows, of future cash flows. Economic risk can reduce the present value of future cash flows from foreign transactions. This risk can affect multinational companies. Risk can affect multinational companies. Remittances from subsidiaries can be affected. Imagine Mobil Oil or Shell Petroleum. Shell Petroleum, Mobil Oil, with parent company in US. This company have investment in Nigeria. They invested with dollar. The dollar was converted to naira. Now, naira is losing its value. Remittances from subsidiaries in Nigeria to their parent company in US will be affected. If you convert naira to dollar, the quantity of dollar received will be smaller. Please note this. We have explained the different type of risk. Now, the next question is, how do we protect ourselves against foreign currency risk? There could be enormous benefit from international transactions. However, there are risks involved if you engage in foreign transactions. One of the risks is foreign currency fluctuations. Now, our next discussion is, how do companies protect themselves against fluctuation in foreign currency risk? There are two measures. We have the internal measures, the internal techniques, also known as non-financial method. There was a particular diet the examiner says, explain the non-financial measures of protecting companies against foreign currency risk. Look at the measures, leading and lagging. Leading to lead means to make payments early. While to lag means to delay payments, making payments as late as possible. Leading and lagging can be used to protect a company against foreign currency risk. The purpose of leading is to pay early in a currency that is expected to rise in value at future periods. If I envisage that dollar will rise at future period, I can make my payments early. I'm leading. While lagging is to delay payments. If you expect that currency will fall in value, I can delay my payments. Let the currency fall in value first. I will not pay later. The problem is, how do we identify when currency will rise in value, currency will fall in value? How do we know? But the truth is also that for those that operate in the foreign currency market, they can predict the movement of exchange rate. Number two, I will explain number two in conjunction with number 4 or number 5. Matching and netting. They are actually closely related. Matching and netting. A company can reduce exposure to foreign currency risk. A company can reduce exposure to foreign currency risk, or a company can eliminate its exposure to foreign currency risk by matching foreign receipts and foreign payments in the same currency. By matching foreign receipts and foreign payment in the same currency, the extent to which this can be matched will now give rise to netting. Let me explain that briefly. Our company based in Nigeria, we imported raw materials from China, and we are supposed to pay our supplier in China $50 million in 3 months' time. That is foreign payments in dollars. Now, we have gotten the raw material. We now use the raw material to manufacture our products. We exported our products to South Africa, and we have customers buying our products in South Africa. Our customer in South Africa is to pay us, say, $40 million. We can now arrange with our customer in South Africa to pay us that money in 3 months' time. You are trying to match your payment of 3 months in dollars, 50 million, with your receipt in dollars, 3 months. You try to match the two transactions. The extent to which you can match your payments will now give rise to netting. For example, I'm to pay $50 million. I'm expecting inflows in dollar, 40 million. If I match these two, 50 million payments against 40 million inflows, I'm going to have a net payment of 10 million. I have reduced my exposure to $10 million. I will only need to look for 10 million US dollar. We have taken the two together. Then number next, invoice in home currency. You can invoice in your own domestic currency. One easy way to avoid exchange rate risk is to insist that your foreign customer pay you in your own domestic currency. If I export goods to US, I can tell my customer in US to pay me in Naira. Is it a must to pay me in dollars? I can tell the customer in US to pay me in I can tell my customer in US to pay me in Naira. Anytime you are paying me, please pay me Naira. I don't want to start looking for exchange rate conversion. Then lastly, do nothing. A company involved in international transaction, you can decide to take no action. Do nothing. You can decide that, look, I'm involved in buying and selling at the international markets. I'm aware there's foreign currency risk, but I don't want to hedge. It is believed that some foreign transaction will result in exchange gain, while some will result in exchange. At the end of the period, the exchange gain and exchange loss will cancel out each other. That is the concept of do nothing. All right, please let us take note of those discussions. Then the external measures. The external measures are what we call financial measures. We have one, forward exchange contracts. It's also called the forward market. A forward exchange contract is a contract between two parties to buy or sell a specified amount of foreign currency. A forward exchange contract is a contract between two parties to buy or sell a specified amount of foreign currency at a fixed exchange rate at the time the contract is made, at an exchange rate fixed at the time the contract is made. That exchange rate fixed is known as the forward rate. But the performance of the contract will be at a future specified date. What that means is, if I want to make payments in dollars at future period, I can hedge using forward exchange contracts. I'm going to obtain an exchange rate now for the future payments I want to make. That exchange rate obtained now for future payment is the forward rate, and that rate is binding. Once that rate is obtained between the two parties, between the customer and the bank, that rate is binding. What it means is that if you go into forward exchange contracts, you have obtained the exchange rate for future foreign transaction as at today, and that rate becomes the binding rate. You have been able to hedge against fluctuation in exchange rate. You have been able to remove uncertainty associated with exchange rate fluctuations. And that is the purpose of hedging. The purpose of hedging is to remove uncertainty associated with exchange rate fluctuations. Please note that. Number 2 instrument that we can use, money market hedging, is another instrument that can be used to hedge against exposure to foreign currency risk. A company can create a hedge by borrowing or lending in the international money markets. A company can create a money market hedge. A company can create a money market hedge by borrowing or lending in the international market to fix an effective exchange rate. Now, you are going to fix the exchange rates now for a future foreign transaction. How does this work? How does this work? Please remember, there are 2 sides to transactions. It is either you are making payments in foreign currency or you are expecting inflows in foreign currency. There are 2 sides to business. At one point, you are making payments. At one point, you are receiving inflows. If our company is to make payments in foreign currency at future periods, and we want to hedge with money markets, we want to hedge with money markets, that future payment to my company is a foreign liability. For me to hedge, I will now create a foreign asset. When we say create a foreign asset, I'm going to place an investment in foreign currency now. I want to pay my supplier in China $50 million US in 6 months' time. And I'm trying to protect myself against exchange rate fluctuation. I will now go to my bank, international money markets. I will now place deposits. I'm going to invest in dollars. Now, the amount I'm going to invest now, plus the interest rates I will receive on my investments, must equal to the $50 million US I require in 6 months' time. Look at the logic, please. Look at the logic. I want to make payment in dollar in 6 months. I'm based in Nigeria. My currency is Naira. I will now approach international money market. You are going to do this through your banker. That please, let me place deposits in dollars. The amount I'm going to deposit now, plus the interest rate I will receive on my deposit, must equal to 50 million naira in $50 million in 6 months. That means I'm planning towards that payment. Once I deposited money now, I will now wait till 6 months. When it gets to 6 months, the time for the payment is due. I will just liquidate my deposits. I'm going to get 50 million US dollar, and I'm going to pay my supplier. The second scenario, I'm expecting inflows in dollars in 3 months' time. And I want to hedge using money markets. I want to hedge using money market. What will I do? That foreign inflows to me is an asset. I will now create a foreign liability in dollars. That is, I'm going to borrow an amount in dollars today. The amount I borrowed plus the interest payable on my borrowing, the amount the companies borrow, plus the interest payable on the borrowing must equal to the inflows we are expecting in 3 months. That is the concept of money market hedging. Number 3, currency futures contracts. Currency futures contracts is an agreement between 2 parties to buy or sell a particular foreign currency at a particular exchange rate on a particular future date. The currency futures deals are in the form of a standardized contract. The currency futures deals are in the form of a standardized contract for a fixed amount of money. Let me explain that. When you get to currency futures, the contracts are standardized. When we say standardized, you can have 1 contract, you can have 2 contracts, you can have 3 contracts, but you cannot have fractional contracts. 10.5, 20.5. The contract is standardized and the amount is fixed. It could be $50,000 per contract, $40,000 per contract, or £40,000 per contract. And these contracts are available only in limited range of currencies. Please, I need to take this gradual here. Foreign currency futures contracts are available only in limited range of currencies for a range of forward time period. When we say limited range of currencies, only 7 currencies in the world can transact in this market. Please, you may jot it down if you don't have it before. Only 7 currencies in the world can transact in the currency futures markets. What are these currencies? United States dollar, number 2, Canadian dollar, Number 3, Australian dollar. Number 4, British pound sterling. Number 5, euro. Number 6, Japanese yen. Then number 7, CHF. That is Switzerland currency. Only this currency can operate in the markets. Now, steps involved when you are hedging with currency futures. Steps involved when hedging with currency futures. 1, set up the hedge and address 4 questions. Question 1 to be addressed: determine the target outcome. What are you targeting to achieve? You are trying to protect yourself against fluctuation in exchange rate. Your target is the exchange rate should not fluctuate. Question number 2. Do we buy? Will the company buy or sell futures at the commencement of the hedging? Question number 3. How many contracts? Determine the number of contracts required for hedging. Remember, there should be no fractional contracts. Next, which contract expiring dates should be choosing? The step number 2 is not really important to us here. Contact the exchange and pay margin. Your step number 3. Calculate the profit or loss in the futures markets. Now, please note that step number 3 is basically to evaluate your hedge results. Evaluate your hedge results. Evaluating your hedge results requires opening futures price and closing futures price. To evaluate your hedge result, you require the opening futures price and the closing futures price. The examiner will give you the opening futures price. Examiner will always give you opening futures price. But the examiner will hardly give you the closing futures price. Please listen to that very well. The examiner will always provide the opening futures price. But the examiner will hardly give you the closing futures price. In 99% of cases, you are not going to be given the closing futures price. You need to estimate the closing futures price yourself. Even in practice, the closing futures price is not available at the commencement of the hedging. Now, the question is, how do we estimate closing futures price? Forecasting closing futures price. To estimate your closing futures price, you have like 3 steps. One is determine the basis. Your basis is equal to spot price minus opening futures price. Once you get the basis, you are going to separate the basis into expired basis and unexpired basis. You are going to separate it into expired basis and unexpired basis. Once you separate, then the last step, the closing futures price is equal to opening futures price plus unexpired basis. The closing futures price is equal to opening futures price plus unexpired basis. The estimated closing futures price becomes lock-in exchange rates. Once you estimate the closing futures price, that becomes the lock-in exchange rates. When we say lock-in, that is the binding exchange rates for that transaction. I'm hoping we are going to demonstrate that tonight. Currency futures. Let me take this for 10 minutes. We'll now start question. Currency futures. So, currency options. If you look at forward contracts, or if you look at currency futures contracts, these contracts are binding hedging instruments. Once something is binding, once you hedge with forward markets or you hedge with futures markets, you have entered into a binding contract. That rate becomes the binding rate. As you are going to be hedging against both adverse and favorable movement in exchange rates. I need to take that again. If you are hedging with forward markets, you are hedging the firm against both. You are hedging the firm against adverse movement in exchange rates. At the same time, the company cannot take advantage of favorable movement in exchange rates. Same applies to currency futures. Currency options, on the other hand, can be used to hedge the company against adverse movement in exchange rates. Currency options, on the other hand, can be used to hedge the company against adverse movement in exchange rates. At the same time, it allows the firm to take advantage of favorable movement in exchange rates. It's an option to hedge, not an obligation to hedge. And say, I want to hedge with currency options. I want to hedge with, it's a rice, yes. A currency option is a right to buy or sell foreign currency at an exchange rate now, at a specified exchange rate. It's a right, not an obligation, to buy or sell foreign currency at a predetermined exchange rate. That predetermined exchange rate is known as the exercise rate. But it is not an obligation. So I will only exercise my rights if that exchange rate is favorable. If the exchange rate is not favorable, I'm going to pull out of that option contract. Remember, we have done option, yes. I've all the classes. It's an option to hedge at a predetermined exchange rate, not an obligation. Now, there are two variants of currency options. You have over-the-counter currency option, OTC. You have the exchange-traded currency option. Over-the-counter is more like forward contracts. The OTC options are tailor-made to fit a company precise requirements. What it means is that over-the-counter can be designed to meet the precise requirement of the company. All right, let's continue. Sorry for that. Over-the-counter currency option can be designed to meet the precise need of the company. We now have exchange-traded currency option. Please, exchange-traded currency options are similar in many ways to currency futures contracts. They are available only in limited range of foreign currencies, the 7 currencies, with a standard amount of money per contract, and with a limited range of 4 time periods. But remember, it's an option, not an obligation. Steps involved. If you are to hedge with exchange-traded currency option, what are the steps involved? You are going to set up the hedge and address the following 4 questions. Do we need call or put option? How many contracts are we going to require? Which expiring date should we use? Which exercise rate should we use? Then step 2. Calculate your premium and pay the premium. Remember, premium must be paid when it gets to options, and the premium is not refundable. Step 3. On the actual transaction date, compare the exercise price That is the option price with the prevailing spot exchange rate. To determine whether the option should be exercised or not, I will compare the exercise exchange rate with the prevailing spot rate. To determine whether I'm going to exercise my right or not. Now, please note the last step. Where the spot rate is not given on the actual transaction date, you may assume that the option will be exercised. Where the actual spot rate is not given, then you can assume that the option will be exercised. Then lastly, foreign exchange swap, currency swap, foreign exchange swap, forex swap. In forex swap, two parties agree to swap equivalent amount of currency for a period and then reswap them at the end of the period at an agreed swap rate. In foreign exchange swap, two parties agree to swap equivalent amount of currency for a period and then reswap at the end of the period at an agreed swap rate. The swap rate and the amount of currency is agreed between the parties in advance. Now, for simplicity, currency swap or foreign exchange swap is similar to forward rates. It's similar to forward contracts. The main difference is forward contracts is used for foreign transaction within a short period, usually less than 1 year. Why forex swap is used for foreign transaction of a longer period of time. So please note that under the forex swap, you can have currency swap. You can have currency swap. Currency swap is an agreement between two counterparties to swap the principal amount of loan and interest in one currency for another principal amount of loan and interest in another currency. Currency swap is an agreement between two counterparties to swap the principal amount of loan and interest in one currency for another principal amount of loan and interest in another currency. The objective is to protect against exchange rate fluctuation. Let me round up with illustration. A practical illustration. Bank of Industry. The Nigerian Bank of Industry obtained loans from World Bank in dollars. The Nigerian Bank of Industry obtained loan from World Bank in dollars. Repayment 2 years. Now, the Nigerian Bank of Industry is worried about exchange rates. If you are going to pay back in 2 years, the exchange rate between dollar and naira will always fluctuate. Now, Nigerian Bank of Industry can now approach hedging institution. For example, CBN. The Nigerian Bank of Industry will now transfer that loan in dollars to Nigerian CBN. We now obtain another loan from CBN in naira. When it is time for repayment, Nigerian Bank of Industry will repay CBN naira. CBN will now repay World Bank dollars. That is currency swap. That is currency swap. All right. 5 minutes to 10. Any question? We are done with all explanation regarding hedging. 5 minutes to 10. Any question? If there's no question, we can take like 2 minutes to stretch our leg and take water. When we get back, we shall look at question number 2. Let's start with question number 2. We have an hour. Please allow me just 1 minute or 2 minutes. Oh, great. Exactly 10 o'clock. Question 2. Please let us pay attention. What we have observed is most students try to avoid this question. And the reality is that, or what is close to reality is that examiner will either text foreign currency or option. May diet last year, examiner texted options. November diet, examiner texted foreign currency hedging. It is the way your syllabus is designed. Whether you want to attempt it or not is individual choice. Examiner will try as much as possible to mirror the syllabus. All right. Alpha PSC is a Nigerian manufacturer of plastic containers. Which it says in many West African and other African countries. In 3 months' time, Alpha PSC is due to receive 70 million kudi from a country in Central Africa whose currency is kudi. Alpha PSC is based in Nigeria. Therefore, Naira is our domestic currency. This company is expecting inflows in kudi in 3 months' time. Therefore, kudi is the foreign currency. You must identify the domestic currency. You must identify the foreign currency. At a board meeting slated for today, the directors will be discussing whether or not there is need to hedge the foreign exchange exposure associated with this transaction. And if yes, how best this might be achieved. At the board meeting, 3 possible alternatives will be considered. Alternative 1, not to hedge this transaction. That is, do nothing. Alternative 2, use a forward contract. Exchange rates quoted by Alpha PSC Bank today. The exchange rate today, that is the spot rate, look at it, 1.1548 to 1.1608 kudi per naira. 3-month forward rates also giving kudi per naira. I can pause the question here. Kudi is a foreign currency. Naira is a domestic currency. Kudi per 1 naira. What type of quotation are we giving, please, in this question? Is it a direct quote or indirect quote? Examiner says kudi / naira, that is per naira. Quantity of foreign currency per 1 domestic currency. What type of quote is this?
Indirect.
Thank you, indirect quote. Please, you are wrong, Mr. This is not a direct quote. It's an indirect quote. Kudi per naira. Quantity of foreign currency per 1 domestic currency. This is an indirect quote. And I keep on trying to emphasize this. You must be able to identify the codes. Loma figure 3, alternative 3. Use an over-the-counter currency option. An option on kudi, which is available through Alpha PSC Bank. Current premium at an exercise price of 1.1650 kudi per naira. 1 naira 10 kobo per 100 naira kudi for a call option, and 1 naira 25 kobo per 100 kudi for a put option. Requirements. State 4 reasons why a firm might reasonably choose not to hedge its exposure to exchange rate risk. Why will a company decide not to hedge? Let's not waste time on this. Look at the reasons, please. Cost, the hedging cost, direct or indirect cost. If the cost is too high, a company can decide not to hedge. That's one. Two, Damna says 4 reasons. Materiality of the exposure. If the amount involved is not material to the company can decide not to hedge. Maybe somebody is trying to pay you $10,000. Is it material to us? Who like her now? Amaka, $10,000. Is it material to you?
It is, sir.
It's material to you. Where's okay, I can see Wilson.
It's not material to me, sir.
Eh? Who is speaking? $10,000, fa. Please, it's material to me. You know what you are talking about. When is not a politician? I'm looking for. Oh, where is this lady now? She's not online. You have to chat.
Is it Believe?
You know the lady, Abby, that normally read for us. What's her name? Oh,
Alexia.
Oh, that's my physical class now. I'm talking of online class. I have a lady that reads for me.
Okay, Amaka. Believe. It's Believe now.
Believe, no. Sambo. Her name is, she's from.
Okay. Zainab.
Zainab, online.
She's not in class today.
I want to ask if that is material to her. It's only a politician that will say $10,000 is not material. I don't understand where. It's the materiality of the exposure. If the amount involved is not material to the company can decide not to hedge. Number 3, attitude to risk. If the company is ready to take higher risk, you can decide to forget about hedging. It is either you are going to make profits or loss. If there's exchange gain, it's to your advantage. If there's exchange loss, it's to your disadvantage. You can take the risk. Then number 4 reason is portfolio effects. If the shareholders or if the shareholdings are fully diversified, then the shareholders' exposure to risk will be material. If you hold a diversified portfolio, whether you hedge or you don't hedge, there's no benefit because you have removed unsystematic risk. Hedging provides no benefit to the company. So please note this for the next question. The B part of this question. Each of the 3 alternatives being considered. What are these alternatives? Do nothing, use forward contracts, then number 3, use over-the-counter hedging. Let us go to this. Show the effect of each of the 3 alternatives being considered. Assuming that the spot rate in 3 months' time is figure 1. The spot rate is given as 1.185 0 to 1.1880, put it to Naira. Or the spot rate happens to be 1.1295 to 1.1320. Now let's go to the alternative. We are going to be working with the aid of our whiteboard. Please, just 1 minute. I'm trying to connect whiteboard so that we can do small calculation in the class, not just reading the solution to us. Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
The alternatives, were they mentioned in the question, or we just would know it?
You can't guess now. They were in the question. No, let's go. I'll go back to the question. Don't worry. So who is speaking?
Praise.
Oh, praise. No problem. We go back to the question. Oh yeah, let's go to the question quickly. Let's go to the question quickly so that we can all. Oh, I've moved so fast. Look at this. At the board meeting, 3 possible alternatives will be considered. 1, not to hedge this transaction. 2, use a forward contract. Oh, sorry. I'll bring it back. 3, use an over-the-counter currency options. The 3 alternatives were mentioned in the question. You cannot just take anyone you like. Oh, examiner must give you. Please, is that fine, please?
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
You can't just assume on your own. Examiner must give us the alternative to you. Let's go. Go to the whiteboard. So the first alternative is not to hedge this transaction. That means if we are not hedging, we are prepared to use whatever the exchange rate in 3 months. Is that not, please? Hello? If we are not hedging, our company, we are expecting inflows in Kudi in 3 months' time. We say we don't want to hedge. That means whatever the exchange rate in 3 months, that is the rate we are going to use. The examiner now says, look at that requirement B. The examiner says, show the effect of each of the 3 alternatives being considered. Assuming that the spot rate in 3 months, look at the spot rates. Assuming the spot rate in 3 months happens to be number figure 1 or number figure 2. That means if you don't want to hedge, you are prepared to use whatever the exchange rate in 3 months' time. Is that clear, please? Okay. Okay. I will now come here. I need to share the whiteboard. Okay. Please confirm you can see my whiteboard being shared.
We can see some.
Let's go to it quickly. We have like 35 minutes to 40 minutes to round up this class. Alternative 1, not to edge. Now give me spot rates in 3 months. I have alternate 1 or 2. If the spot rates happen to be 1.1850 to 1.1880, Kudi / Naira. Or if the spot rate happen to be 1.1, let me check that. 1.1295 to 1.1320. 1295 to 1.1320. This is the spot rate in 3 months' time. We are giving 2 scenarios. We have settled that this is a direct quote. Foreign currency, we have agreed that this is a direct quote. Foreign currency per naira. It has been agreed that this is a direct quote. Sorry, this is an indirect quote. Sorry. This is an indirect quote. This is an indirect quote. We now come here. The next thing is I need to know the buyer and the seller. I have an indirect quote. Our company based in Nigeria, we are expecting 70 million Kudi in 3 months' time. When we get the Kudi in 3 months' time, we are going to approach our bank. We are going to be selling. We are going to be selling Kudi. Bank will buy Kudi. That means the customer is the seller. The bank is the buyer. Giving an indirect quote, at what rate will the bank buy, please? The customer is the seller. The bank is the buyer. Giving an indirect quote, at what rate would the bank buy?
High rates.
You can send in your charts. The bank will buy at the higher rates. The bank will buy at the what? Higher rates. Please note that. I want to look at it. Which one is higher? This is higher. For the first scenario, this is the higher rates. For the second scenario, this is the higher rates. Now come here. For scenario 1. For scenario, let me take black back. For scenario 1, the applicable spot rate is 1.1880. Expected Naira receipts in 3 months' time. In 3 months is now. The next thing to do is I want to convert 70 million kudi to Naira at the rate of 1.1880. This is an indirect cost. Am I going to divide or multiply? Please, if you are giving indirect cost,
Divide, sir.
please, if you want to speak, let me know. If you are giving indirect cost and you want to transfer to the next currency, you are going to divide. I have 70 million kudi. 70 million kudi. I want to convert it to Naira. The rate is divide by 1.1880. Please, what is the Naira amount?
58,922 points.
It should be 58
million 922,558. 559 approximately. Yes,
that is Blessing. I know your voice. That is the Naira amount for that if scenario 1 should happen. If scenario 2 should happen, scenario 2, look at it. If scenario 2 should happen, I will now come here. Applicable spot rates. Applicable spot rates is the higher one because bank is the buyer, customer is the seller. 1.1320. Expected Naira, look at it. Expected Naira receipts in 3 months. Please remember it's in 3 months. In 3 months. Again, I'm going to divide because it's indirect cost. 70 million divided by, please divide. Okay, I can do divided by 1.1320. What do you have, please? The amount, please.
61,873,4556.
8 what?
837.
837.
456 approximately.
456. Thank you.
Okay.
You have gotten your mark for this. I'll just use this arrow to indicate this, please. This is for this. You are done with alternative 1. Examiner will give you your mark. Yeah, divide. Thank you, Nicholas. So this is our page 1. This page is full, page 1. We move to page 2. Share page 2. Page 1 is full. We move to page 2. Okay. Our page 2, we want to look at the second alternative, forward markets. Alternative 2. Alternative 2. Forward, that is the forward contracts. We are expecting 70 million in 3 months' time. And I want to hedge using forward contracts. I'm going to pick 3 months forward rates. Look at the rates. 1.1438 to 1.1508. I'll bring it here. 3 months forward rates is 1.1438 438 to 1.1508 kudi per naira. Examiner will always give you 2 rates. One is low, one is high. First, determine the type of quote you are giving. This is an indirect quote. Next, determine the buyer and the seller. Our company based in Nigeria, we are expecting inflows in kudi in 3 months' time. When we get the money, we are going to be selling kudi. Bank will buy kudi. Bank is the buyer, customer is the seller. Giving an indirect quote, at what rate will the bank buy? The bank will buy at the higher rate. Applicable 3-month forward rates. 3-month forward rates. You now pick the higher rate. The higher rate is 1.1508. You now compute the naira amounts. Once you pick the rate, then get the naira amount. Guarantee, that is guarantee. Yes, praise. Please ask your question. Guarantee naira amounts, guarantee naira receipts in 3 months' time is, again, I have indirect quote. 70 million kudi, I'm going to divide. 70 million kudi divided by 1.1508. What is the naira amount guaranteed or binding naira receipts? Yes, please, you can answer your question. Or is it you raise up your hand in error?
If it was direct quotes and like changing it to domestic currency, will it be multiply?
Yes, if you are dealing with direct quote,
Like instead of dividing.
You are going to multiply, yes.
Okay.
As soon as you are dealing with direct quote, then you are going to multiply. $70 million divided by 1.1508. That will give me 60 million 827 258. Then you get your mark again. you are done with forward markets. Mark. That's why, maybe because I do this, I always tell myself that hedging is one of the area you can maximize mark easily. Page 2. This is my page 2. This is my page 2. I'll move to page 3. I can minimize this. I can minimize this. Let me check. I'll share. Please confirm you can see the whiteboard being shared. Please confirm you can see the whiteboard being shared. Yes, Chiamaka. Your question, please. It was a mistake. Okay, no problem. Alternative 3. Examiner says we should use over the counter currency option. That is the examiner request. Now we are going to open the two. I have scenario 1. I have scenario 2. This is an option, not an obligation. Under scenario 1, spot rates in 3 months' time. For this scenario, you are going to compare the spot rate in 3 months' time with the exercise rate. Spot rate in 3 months' time, if scenario 1 should happen, I'm going to use 1.1880. Remember? That is the spot rate I'm going to select if scenario 1 should happen. If scenario 2 should happen, I'm going to select 1.1320. This is the spot rate. We now come to the option exercise rate. Let's go to it. Let's go to the question. Now look at option 3, alternative 3. Use an over-the-counter currency option on Kudi, which is available through the Alpha PSC Bank. Current premium at an exercise price 1.1650 Kudi to Naira. I'll pick the exercise price 1.1650, 1.1650. Whether scenario 1 or scenario 2, the exercise price is the same, 1.1650. We now need to compare. Remember, it's an option. It's an option, not an obligation. Now look at it. I have a choice to convert Kudi to Naira at the spot rate or at the exercise rate. Should I exercise my right or not? Look at the two rates. If you are looking at the two rates, because it's an indirect rate, it might not be easy to get which one to use. The next question is exercise or not? Question mark. If you look at this scenario 1, I have a choice to convert 70 million Kudi at 1.1880 or at 1.1650. How do I know which one to pick? If you are dealing with indirect quotes, the lower the rate, the better the receipt for you. If you are dealing with indirect quotes, the higher the receipt you are going to get. So if I want to take this now, I will say yes, exercise my rights, because the exercise rate is lower than the spot rate. Now, if you are in doubt that how do I now can test the two rates? Now, let's get a calculator. Convert 70 million to Naira using the spot rate, scenario 1. The Naira amount you are going to get is 58 million plus. 58 million plus. We have done it before. The Naira amount will give you 58,922,500 if you convert at that rate. Now, please check at 150. 70 million divided by 1.1650. You are going to get 60,085,837 approximately. Which one is giving you higher Naira receipts? The exercise rate will give you higher Naira receipts. So in the first scenario, I'm going to exercise my rights. Look at the second scenario. I have a choice to exercise my rights at 1320 or 1.1650. The spot rate is better than the exercise rates. I will opt out. I will not exercise my rights. I will say no. My rights. I'm going to use the spot rate. The spot rate will give me higher Naira receipts. I can now calculate the Naira receipts. Expected Naira receipts. I've said yes here. That means I'm going to use the exercise rates. Yeah, I've said no. That means for me to say no, That means I want to use the spot rates. So if I convert at 1.1650, the Naira amount is 60,085,836. Here I said no. I want to use the spot rate. I don't want to use the exercise rate. $61,837,456. Remember, with currency option, you must pay a premium. The premium must be paid whether or not the right is exercised. The premium is a cost. So we now have to calculate the premium. Now let's go to the question again. Examiner says current premium at an exercise price of 1.1650 are 1 naira 10 kobo per 100 kudi for a call, and 1 naira 25 kobo for 100 kudi for a put option. That means before I can calculate my premium, I must determine, are we going to use call option or put option? How do we know? Now let's analyze it. Our company based in Nigeria, we are expecting inflows in kudi in 3 months' time. When we get the inflows, we are going to be selling kudi. That means we need to obtain the right to sell. Yeah, put option. To sell is put option. Required here is the put option. And the premium for put option is 125. Naira 25 kobo per 100 kudi. I will now try to calculate the premium. The premium now per 100 kudi, the company will pay a premium of 1 naira 25 kobo. And 50,000 kudis. What is the total premium? Look at it, please. I will now compute the premium. I will come here. The premium computation. Look at it. The premium computation. 70 million kudi divided by 100 multiplied by 1.25. That will give you the premium amount in naira. Is 875,000. The premium cost is 875,000. Remember, it's a cost. Receipt against cost. That will be minus 875,000. Sir, why is it put? Okay, no problem. We try to answer that. You can now get the net Naira receipts. I will answer your question, please. Where is Debbie? It's not online tonight. Net receipts. I will answer your question. I don't want to round up this. You now compare 60 million minus 875,000 minus 60,836. This will give us 59 million 210 836. The second one, please check it out. 61 3837 456 minus this will give me 60 million 962 456. Now to the question, why is it put option? Please, let's listen to that. You are done with this question. This is how to treat currency over the counter currency option. This is how to treat over the counter currency option. Now the question says, why do we take put option? Now you are going to do analysis more. Our company based in Nigeria, we are expecting inflows in foreign currency, Kudi, in 3 months' time. When we get the money in 3 months' time, what are we going to do? We approach our bank. We are going to be selling Kudi to the bank. That means for me to hedge, I need to obtain the right to sell. For me to hedge using currency option, I need to obtain the right to sell. Now, what is the right to sell? That is put option. The right to buy is call option. How do we get 59? Please take your calculator, 60 million, these amounts, less this amount. Please work it out. Maybe there's an error on my part. Please work it out. Why do we not consider these scenarios? For option 2, look at option 2. Okay, it's a good question. He said, why we not consider this scenario in option 2? Let's go to option 2. Option 2 is use a forward contract. If you are using a forward contracts, regardless of the spot rates in 3 months' time, the exchange rate, the 3 month, the forward rate becomes the binding rates. For forward contracts, it's a good question the person has asked. If you are using forward contracts, you want to hedge with forward exchange contracts. We said it's an agreement between two parties to buy or sell foreign currency at an exchange rate fixed now. That exchange rate fixed is binding. Regardless of spot rates in 3 months' time, the exchange rate, this 3 month forward rate is the binding exchange rate. It's a binding hedging contract. Regardless of the spot rate in 3 months' time, the company will still exchange at the forward rate agrees today. Is that better, please? All right, that's a good question because, all right, we are done with the B part. Look at the C part and tell me the answer. State 4 method available to firms to reduce their exposure to foreign exchange risk, which do not involve the use of financial contracts. Please, can somebody tell us the 4? Yeah, leading and lagging, matching and netting, do nothing. Please prepare. What examiner will text 100%. But the trend we are looking at, I got the message says another multinational giant set to leave Nigeria after 40 years due to exchange rate fluctuation, Naira devaluation. PZ is leaving Nigeria after 140 years. After 140 years in Nigeria, you can see the effect of economic risk. This company, they brought their investment with dollars to Nigeria. They converted dollars to Naira. They invested here. Their expectation is to transfer the remittance in Naira back to dollar. But Naira is becoming worthless. It makes no sense to place investment here. Economic risk. Multinational company will decide to move their to a country where the currency is gaining in value. I just got information. Multinational have 40 years. PZ is leaving Nigeria because the investment makes no sense in Naira. You are bringing Naira to Nigeria to invest. When you are bringing dollars to invest, you convert it to Naira. When you went to get your remittance in Naira, if you convert it back to dollar, it makes no sense to you. It makes no sense to you. All right. May God give us a better understanding. For this class, I'm aware I have I have students from the physical class. We have used 2 here. I have used forward contracts. We have used over-the-counter currency options. We still need to use other methods to demonstrate how it's going to work. Okay. May God give us a better understanding. I wish I can solve 2 questions tonight, but the time is not right. We stop here tonight and rounding up this topic with one more class. Any question, please? All right. I will be checking out of this classroom. Let's remain blessed. God will give us a better understanding. Good night.
Man, thank you, sir.
Good night, sir.
Is there class tomorrow?
There won't be class tomorrow.
Sorry.